Hello everyone, please be seated. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to this performance today. I'm Gurleen Grewal, Director of the Center for India Studies. I'm really happy that this event is really coming together of three organizations, the Students of India Association, Center for India Studies, and a community partner, Pehchan. The Pehchan is an acronym for Providing Educational, Humanistic, and Cultural Hope for the South Asian American Network. And in fact, after the play, there's going to be a panel discussion. So, because the play is going to be provocative and thought-provoking, so please stay and participate in the discussion. And of course, we request that you all turn off your cell phones. I'm particularly pleased to announce that the screenwriter and director of this play is our very own Samira Obeid. In fact, the whole cast is USF graduate students, women of Indian origin. Other than Samira Obeid is herself acting in it, along with Swati Srivastav, Meeta Saxena, Supriya Ketkar, and Swadata Majumdar. So I'm really, really pleased that this is happening. Let's enjoy this result of very hard work that these students have put in this semester. Thank you.
What is probably most difficult for students studying abroad is leaving family and the familiarity of life at home to embark on a journey alone to a place unknown and towards a future that is uncertain. And when homesickness kicks in, students will turn to anything that spells home, whether it's students' organization, faculty, or people from the community. But what happens to those students who can't turn to their home? What happens to those whose unconventional lifestyle cause their own people to criticize and keep them at bay? Do we ever stop to think that maybe, just maybe, they too go through the same trying time as us? That may be being different isn't as bad as we make it out to be. That maybe we should learn to appreciate these differences instead of fight it. After all, it does take all kind to make this world.
It's been 5 months since I've heard from her. Nothing. No calls, no messages, no emails. I've done everything that I can think of to get in touch with her. I don't really know what else to do. I don't understand. It's not like she doesn't love me. I know she does. She said she did. I know it's difficult for her. What with her parents being so orthodox? We knew they wouldn't understand. No one will. I haven't even told my parents yet. The sad part is I'm so sure they know. But they never talk about it. If only they would just ask me. The least she could have done was end it. The least she could have done was let me know. Is that really too much to ask for? I'd give anything for one last conversation. Sometimes, I don't think any of this is worth it. None of this is worth it.
Do you know what it feels like to be a married woman and still be answerable to people who are not even your relatives? I mean, I know among us Indians, everyone in the family needs to know everything. But that's different. Let me explain. My husband also lives in the US. He's based out in Washington, D.C., and I am here in Tampa. My parents don't have a problem with it. His parents don't have a problem with it. He and I don't have any issue But the number of times I've had to hear the same questions again and again. You don't live with your husband? You should have transferred to university in that state then, no? Oh, your in-laws don't mind? What is the use of this marriage if you both are staying apart? How does he manage? Why is it that people think that they have any right to ask me such personal questions?
Hi, I am Meeta. I am a student at USF and I really like everything about the US. The university is very nice and we have a lot of really helpful Indian students on campus. When I first came here, I used to find it very difficult. I missed my parents very badly. But all students go through that. Then I started attending Indian events and I used to hang out with my roommates. I made a lot of friends. My advisor is also an Indian and he's very nice to me. He is very understanding and he's like a father figure to me. When I graduate, I guess I'll work in the US for a while. But then I'll go back to India. There's nothing like home.
God, sometimes I just wish that I couldn't hear my own thoughts. I wish things could have been much more simpler. But everything has to be so complicated. My parents want me to get married. And I don't blame them. I'm 28 years old. I want to settle down too. I want to have a family. But first, I want to finish my education and then work. And I don't want to get married to anybody. I want to marry somebody who is educated, who knows me, understands me, and respects my ambitions. I didn't come this far for nothing. But how do I get my parents to understand that? For them, none of this really matters. It's only about which family he comes from, his monthly income, his religion, blah, blah, blah. Maybe I should just tell them no. I'll find someone I like, someone I choose. Ideally, I would have loved to date the right guy before committing. But I can't. If I tell them that, it would break them. I told them I would marry someone of their choice.
There's really only one thing I have to say. I'm really grateful that I have the chance to study in the US. I miss my family a lot. But my dad always said, I'll study in the States, so here I am. I mean, it's not like India. I have a few friends and I have my advisor. My advisor is like God to me. He's a little strict and he sometimes says things that I don't quite understand. I mean, I try really hard and I work long hours. But no matter what I do, he's never happy with me. He never says anything nice about my work. And he keeps asking me questions about my future. After all, I'm in a PhD program that will take me good 5 years to complete. I'll think about my future, but only after I'm a little more clear about my present. But I don't know. Maybe it's for my benefit. After all, he is my advisor. Maybe he doesn't want to say anything nice because he's worried that I'll slack off. Maybe he keeps asking me these questions because he wants to get the best out of me.
Excuse me, do you have a pen I can borrow?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Do Do you have a pen I can borrow?
Sure. Here you go.
Is anybody sitting here? Oh no, please, go ahead. Thank you. By the way, I'm Meeta. Hey, nice to meet you. I'm Swati. Which department are you in? I'm into transportation engineering. What about you? Psychology. Wow, really? I've never met anybody from psychology. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Not many Indians are in the arts. That's true. Most of my friends are into engineering. Just a minute. Hey, thank you for the pen.
No problem.
By the way, I don't know if you remember. We met last Diwali. I'm Swati.
Oh yeah. Hey Swati, I'm Sam. The last time we met, I think your husband introduced us, correct?
Yes, that's correct. He was here then.
How is he?
He's doing well. He's in DC.
Oh really? That's neat. By the way, you reading Paul?
Yeah, you know his work? I don't believe this.
He is only my most favorite poet of all time.
That's good to know. So tell me, are you also doing your PhD?
No. I'm doing my master's in advertising. I am an aspiring writer. And you?
Psychology.
Whoa, dangerous. Oh, excuse me, just a second. I need to take this. Hello?
Swati, he knows you're married, right? Who? He's talking to you as if he's known you for a long time. He knows your husband, right? Meeta, Sam is...
Hey, sorry about that. My mom.
No problem. Sam, this is Meeta. Meeta, this is Sam. She is also doing her master's. She? You are a girl? Oh my god, I don't believe this. Really?
Yes, really. Sorry to disappoint.
Hey Sam, why don't you join us?
Sure, no problem. So, Meeta, tell me, when did you come to the US?
I just came this semester.
Uh-huh.
So
And,
Sam, do you listen to a lot of music?
Yep, I never leave home without my iPod. So I think just a second, okay? Supriya? Hey, how have you been? It's been so long.
Hi, I know man, work's been so hectic, I hardly had any time to sleep.
God, I know exactly what you mean. By the way, this is...
Hey Swati, how are you? Haven't seen you in a while. How have you been?
I'm good. What about you? And when are you graduating?
In spring.
Oh, me too.
Finally.
Okay, I'm glad you guys know each other. Supriya, Meeta, Supriya.
Hi Meeta. Hey Swagata, why don't you step in here? Let me introduce you to some people. Yeah. Swagata, Meeta, Swati, and Sam.
Hey,
Sam.
Samira. Nice to meet you.
Samira, that's your real name?
Yes.
Hey guys, why don't we just sit down and talk? I mean, Neeta is new and so is Swagata. And we guys haven't met each other in a long while.
Sounds good to me. Sam,
Yeah, I'm cool with that. Don't really feel like being by myself now in any case.
you okay?
Yeah, I'll be fine. So tell me, Supriya, what big plans are once you graduate?
That's a tough question, Sam. There's so much to think about. I want to finish my PhD and then work. But my parents want me to get married.
That's not such a bad thing, you know.
Oh, don't get me wrong, Swati. But it's just that back when I was in India, me and my parents kind of had a deal that I would come to the US to study and they would find me the world's most eligible bachelor. But you know, Sam, things are not the same. I mean, I was so different when I was in India. I'm not like that anymore. I mean, imagine starting your life with a complete stranger. It's not as simple as family and education. I want to live my life on my own terms. And I want somebody who gets that.
But Supriya, how can you do this to your parents? They're your parents and they know what's good for you. How can you just betray their trust like that? That's not fair.
Yeah, I shouldn't even be thinking this way. But I want at least somebody who's as educated as I am. But most of the guys my parents are looking at don't even have a master's.
So what, Supriya? Then why are you doing a PhD? And once you're married, how does it matter?
What? Are you serious?
Obviously, what is she going to do with a PhD? What if her husband is not even in the US?
And once she's married, why does she have to work? I don't know why you're thinking about this, Supriya. Isn't it already clear?
Hold on, okay? Are you saying that once she's married, that's it? She's just supposed to forget everything she's worked for? What kind of twisted logic is that?
What is wrong with that? If her husband gives her permission to work, then maybe she can work. But otherwise, of course she cannot work. In any case, what do you know about marriage?
Excuse me?
Look at you. You look like a boy, you dress like a boy, and you act like a boy. How will your parents ever find a boy for you? How will you ever get married? Meeta, you will have to marry an American.
Or maybe I'm not looking to marry a boy.
What do you mean you're not looking to marry a boy? Are you mad?
No, I'm not mad. I'm gay. God, do you know what that means?
What is wrong with you? What are you saying?
Sam, please let it go. Meeta, will you please calm down?
I just can't get it, Supriya.
Meeta, that is Sam's choice. Why are you reacting to it this way?
Guys, I'm really sorry to interrupt. Sam, I don't mean to be rude, but even I don't think what you're doing is right. How can you be like this? It is not right.
What do you mean?
How can you make a choice like this? I can't even imagine what your parents must be going through. Sam, when I first saw you, I also thought you were a boy. People must be asking your parents so many kinds of questions. Do they even know?
No, they don't.
But Sam, why did you make a choice like this? Why can't you be normal and just like boys?
Okay. Look, I know you guys are genuine, okay? So I'm going to subject myself to your questions. It's not a choice. I'm not choosing to be attracted to the same sex, I just am. And I am not ashamed or embarrassed about it. It's the rest of the damn world that seems to have a problem. I mean, people act like it's untrue when in fact they know. Guys, just look at me. How much more obvious can it get?
I can't even imagine what you go through, Sam. People can be so judgmental. You know, when I meet people for the first time, fellow students or anyone from the community, oh, they talk to me so nicely. But then, when I tell them that my husband and I, we live at different locations, they can't understand it. Everyone is so cynical. You know, I've heard even fellow students ask me why I haven't moved, why I need to complete my PhD, how they feel so bad for my husband for what I am doing. Can you believe it? In this day and age, my husband and I are perfectly comfortable with our situation, but everyone else has an opinion about it.
And Meeta, it's not just Sam who has to go through all this. What do you think people say to me when I tell some of them that I'm not yet married? When I tell some of my friends what I'm going through right now, I get the exact same reaction that you gave me. I have no intentions of going back on my word. I don't want to betray my parents, but just imagine starting your life with a complete stranger. All I'm asking for is a middle ground to meet them on. Why does it have to be all or nothing?
And let me ask you another thing. How does Sam being gay affect you in any way? I mean, why do you even care? It's not that her sexual preference is affecting your life in any way, right?
I don't know, Swati. It's still very weird. I feel it's wrong.
Excuse me. Hello? Yes, Doctor. When did you send the email? Oh, I'm sorry. I was out with some friends last night and was pretty wasted by the time I got back. I can take a look at it and get back to you in a couple of hours. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
That was your professor, Sam?
Yeah, my advisor.
How can you talk to your professor like that?
As in?
I could never speak to my professor so freely. I'm sure he would kick me out of the program. My advisor is really strict, you know. I feel so scared just to talk to him.
What? You're scared of your advisor? That doesn't sound good.
Why? It's good to be scared of your elder, Supriya. See, I never used to talk to my dad like that in India. I wouldn't even stand in front of him. Dr. Sharma is also just like him. If I do something wrong, he shouts at me, just like my father.
Okay, that is really not nice. Even my advisor gives me quite a mouthful when I mess up. I don't think we're talking about the same thing here.
Yeah, I'm not getting that vibe either. Exactly what is he saying?
Look, I'm not complaining, okay? I'm just telling you that's all. He never says anything nice to me. He's always complaining that I don't work hard enough. He tells me, Swagata, if you're going to be this lazy and if you've come to the US just to have fun, don't bother doing your PhD. But honestly guys, I'm always in the lab, even on weekends. And he keeps asking me questions about my future. He tells me that he's 100% sure that he's wasting his funding on me because I'm going to put halfway through and get married. You know, he even asked me personal questions like why I'm not married yet, if there is something wrong with me or my family.
What the hell? That's doctor.
Yeah, and then he gives me all these statistics and tells me only a small number of female students under him have graduated. We'll see if you graduate, Swagata, he says. You know, he makes me do all these other projects that have nothing to do with my research. Those are things which actually he should be doing, not me. But I don't know. After all, he is my advisor. Maybe, you know, he just wants me to learn different things. That's all.
Swagata, that is bullshit. And you know it. How can you even take all this emotional drama? You know what? I think you should go to the higher authorities about this. Because how do you know that even after working for 5-6 years, he'll let you graduate with a PhD?
Good point.
But Supriya, how can she go against her advisor? That's not right.
But neither is what he's doing to her.
Well, I don't think you should go against your advisor. He's your advisor and he knows what's good for you. You should just stay quiet. It will only get you into trouble and you're better off right now. I don't know why you guys are telling her all this. What kinds of friends are you? Nothing is going to change. What is the point?
Oh my God. That is so easy for you to say, isn't it? It's so much easier when you're not in someone else's shoes. Nothing's going to change. Nothing will change unless you try to change it, Meeta.
Yes, Meeta. I'm with Sam on this one. You think it's okay to just sit back and let others take advantage of your situation? What if your advisor did that to you? Would you just sit back and do nothing about it? Actually, you know what? Maybe you would.
Guys, I understand what you all are saying. I appreciate your concern. But come on, what if I complain and this whole thing turns against me? Tell me, what if the administration believes him instead of me? You know, he'll make my life miserable. My career will be over. No. I can't do this. I'm too scared.
Look, Swagata, we're not forcing you, okay? We're just giving you suggestions. If you decide to go ahead with this, you can always ask your chair to keep it confidential. I'm 100% sure that they'll do everything in their power to make sure that this doesn't affect you negatively.
And yes, if you decide to go ahead with all this, we'll all support you.
Thanks, guys, but I don't know. I really have to think about it. In any case, I just realized I have a class in 20 minutes and I kind of left my bag in the office, so I have to pick it up. But it was really nice meeting you all. Okay, I'll see you guys later, okay? Bye.
Bye.
So, Supriya, what are you going to do?
I don't know, Swati. I don't want to disappoint my parents. All I can do is just pray that the guy they choose for me is the right guy for me.
But Supriya, can't you at least talk to your parents? Just let them know how you feel.
No, Sam. The moment I do that, their minds will start working 19 to the dozen. They'll immediately presume that I'm already seeing somebody, and then all hell will break loose.
Don't worry. Everything will work out just fine.
Yeah, I guess so. Anyways, I'll let you guys know what's happening on my front. I'll catch up with you guys later, okay? Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, I have to leave too.
Thank God.
I need to go grocery shopping. Do you guys eat anything? Oh no, thanks, I'm fine.
I'm good. Meeta, you know what? It was nice meeting you. Hey, listen. Whatever you feel about me, okay? You're entitled to your opinion. But don't expect me to change so that you can be a little more comfortable with your world. Like I said, it was nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Bye, Swati.
Wow, that was intense.
Tell me about it. I thought you were going to throw a punch.
Believe me, I wish the solution was that simple.
But you know what, Sam? It's nice to have these conversations. At least they're honest.
Yeah, I guess. You know, Swati, it never ceases to amaze me. The different kinds of people that there are in this world. I mean, think about it. So much just happened among only 5 of us. Each one of us has our own issues to deal with.
Yeah. Now look at us. We are nowhere close to being typically Indian. But at the same time, Meeta and Swagata, who are both very, very traditional. But I guess interacting with people like us gives them something new to deal with.
I don't know if that's good or bad, but at least it gets them thinking. Anyway, Swati, I'll make a move too. I have a ton of work to do, and as usual, I haven't even begun. So, let me give you a call and we can talk some. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
Okay, see you then. Bye-bye. It's not the first time I've had to hear these things. Oh my God. Your poor parents. But that's not right. Don't you ever want to have children? Why are you dressed like that? Your name is Samira, not Sam. You're a girl, not a boy. Don't you think I know that? You think, I'd have gotten used to it by now? Having heard the same thing again and again. But it doesn't work that way. For some reason, the more you hear it, the angrier you get. And someone like Meeta, she's not a mean person. She's just being honest. She doesn't know any better. She doesn't even know that there are some conversations you don't have. Not like that. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't understand. I do. I have friends like her. I have family like her. It's just too new, too different, for them to understand. And if there's one thing I know, people are always hesitant to accept difference. We're always afraid of the things we don't understand. It's just the way it is.
Every conversation is like a new experience to me these days. There's always some new reason that people come up with to justify their insecurities. It's not that they cannot accept other people's lifestyles. It's the fear that if they do, they might actually end up changing their own. Now look at Swagata. Why does she need to be constantly traumatized by someone whom she's known for what? 2 months? But at least now she knows that it's okay to think about what he's doing to her. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to defend yourself from people like that. How would she know these things if no one is willing to open up and say something about it? For me, the constant nagging questions never end. But that's how people are. They love to talk. All I can do is turn a deaf ear to them. What other option do I have?
I don't know if I want to talk about this, but I just can't stop thinking about it. How can people be like this? We spend our entire lives dependent on our parents, and then we break the one promise we make to them. It is like Supriya is cheating them. So what if she does not know her future husband? And what kinds of advice are her friends giving her? That Sam? Who does she think she is? It's people like her who give the rest of us a bad name. Right? But then, I can't stop thinking about what Swati said to me. I don't even know if I'll ever meet Sam again. Why do I have to get so angry? After all, I don't know her. I don't know her at all. Maybe I don't want to, but that's my choice. Just like her life is her choice. Right?
My parents called. Again. The same conversation time and again. What am I going to do? Maybe if I just close my eyes and go through all this, it won't be as bad as I think. Maybe I won't look back at it with regrets. Maybe he would be my Mr. Right. Who am I kidding? What am I going to do? I should talk to my parents. My friends were right. I should let them know how I feel about all this. I'm sure they'll agree. After all, they're my parents. All they want is for me to be happy. And if they don't, even after all this, then I'll take care of it. But I'll talk to them. I'll let them know. I'm sure they'll understand. Yes, they will.
I have so much to say. After my conversation with Sam, Supriya, Swati and Meeta, I was so confused. I hadn't thought about any of this before. But then I started thinking about everything that was going on. My advisor, his remarks, my work, what these girls said, and God, I felt like my head was going to explode. So last night, I just prayed, and then I wrote an email to my father. I told him everything that was going on. I asked him what he wanted me to do. I can never take decisions on my own. But you know what? My father actually responded. And you know what he said? He said that I should go and complain to the higher authorities. He said that no one had the right to treat me this way. He said that my advisor was just like a father. That he wasn't my father. And that my personal life was none of his business. My dad said he would support me 100% with whatever I did. And he said he has the confidence that I would sort it out on my own. I've written to the chair of my department. I have an appointment with her tomorrow. You know, if it wasn't for my dad, I would never have been able to go through with this. I would never have found the courage.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I would now like to present to you the cast of Identity. Swati Srivastava, Shravana Madhura, Shubhya Thakkar, Deepak Saxena, Sakshi Obeid. I will now turn over the stage to Ms. Sushma for the panel discussion.
It's fun to be called Miss Sushma. What a bold and sharp presentation. I want to applaud the USF students for a very courageous presentation here today on a broad range of topics of different sensitivities. On behalf of Pehchan, I would like to welcome you all once again. Thank you for supporting the event today. Pehchan is a not-for-profit organization that was started in 2006. Our mission is to enhance the psychosocial quality of life of the South Asian American network of Tampa Bay through education, awareness, and support. We offer seminars, educational workshops, support groups, and other related events such as essay writing competition for the youth, etc. Just like the proverbial, the little engine that could, as Pehchan was chugging along, huffing and puffing, in 2007, I tried to reach out to the USF student community, but to no avail. In 2008, two of our committee chairs were able to establish some connection with the SIA, but were unable to create any meaningful, sustainable dialogue. So in 2009, when I met Samira Obeid through CIS, I was very excited. She approached me with the idea of a theatrical production, and Pehchan was quite taken with the idea. We decided to weave in the psychoeducational component, which is of course our forte, by having a panel discussion followed by an open forum discussion. So the idea took hold. And a little later, I was informed that CIS would also like to support the event. We were simply delighted. As I understand, SIA has been instrumental in procuring this venue for tonight. So, as it so turned out, it turned into a three-ring circus, in a good way, of course. And this is testimony to the power of collaborative ventures. So on the note of hoping for more such joint ventures in the future, I would like to hand over the stage to the panelists, if you would come up on stage. And I believe there's a table with chairs for you folks on the other end. The panelists will be giving their personal reflections of today's presentation. They will then open up the floor for discussion. So all of you are invited to ask questions of the panelists and of the actors, to share your thoughts and opinions. And after the event is over, there is a light meal that is being sponsored by Pehchan that will be served outside. So enjoy. In the meantime, I'm going to call upon Vandana Sherkar to introduce the panelists. There she is. Thank you.
Hello everybody.
Anybody?
We have our three panelists. I'll start with the first one, Avani Shah. Avani Shah is a doctoral student in clinical psychology at University of Alabama. She's currently a psychology intern at Tampa, VA, specializing in neuropsychology and health psychology. Avani has a master's in social work and has worked as an adolescent therapist and director of parenting program. Then I would introduce the second panelist, Pratisha Basu. Pratisha Basu is assistant professor in Department of Geography at University of South Florida, Tampa. She has an MA from Jawaharlal Nehru University in Delhi, and MPhil from Indian Institute of Technology, Mumbai, and from PhD from University of Iowa. And third, I would like to introduce Dr. Swapna Mukherjee. She is a psychiatrist at University of South Florida Counseling Center and fellow American Psychiatric Association. She has an MBBS from Calcutta Medical College and did her residency training at University of Florida and University of South Florida. So welcome all these panelists.
As they said, I'm a doctoral student in clinical psychology. I am Gujarati, and I've grown up pretty much in the States, and my family was very, very strict. And we lived in this rural town in Alabama. So a lot of the experience that these students have very well done, very well performed. A number of the topics that they brought up are familiar to me. The voice of society, that's also perfect. I mean, a lot of those thoughts come up, a lot of those experiences definitely occur. I'm also in a commuter marriage. My husband lives in Jacksonville, Florida, and I live in Tampa, Florida. I'm trying to finish my PhD in clinical psych. I just have a little bit more left. But we've done a commuter marriage for about 3 years of our marriage. And anecdotally, there's not a lot of research information on this. Obviously, there's not a lot of data on South Asians and how frequent the commuter marriages are. However, South Asians put a lot of emphasis on education. And they do it for both their daughters and their sons, especially in the States, and even in India. So having these commuter marriages has become very common. In my friend group alone, I know of only one friend who is with their spouse. And so it's also very common for it to continue, education to continue while one gets married or to even begin after marriage. So there's that commonality that takes place. And there are positive aspects to that. One is that you have support of your family members, your own family members, your in-laws while you're going through that process, and the support of your husband. So financially it's supportive, emotionally it can be supportive. And in addition, there are some challenges that take place too, because you have demands placed on you from two sides of family. And I actually lived with my husband's family for about 5 years. And so that was very different for me. And I always dreamed like, oh, this will be great. It'll be just like the Indian movies, and it comes with its own challenges. I love my in-laws, but there are some challenges there. So that's definitely something that I brought up by the group. So that was one of the things that I bonded with quite well. The other one was the question about gay and lesbians and how our society could do much more to accept gay and lesbian groups because, and for me, I've always had a lot of pride for India because we are a land of so many cultures, so many languages, so much religious variety, and I feel like if anyone can accept differences in one another, it would be Indians. And so I think that is, a good point that was brought up by that topic. And research has shown that in that area there has been some research, and what it has shown is that that group, Asian, South Asian, gay and lesbian groups, do tend to feel more isolated because they don't feel like they can be a part of the community. So taking that into account, we ourselves can do much more in terms of making them feel like this is okay. We can embrace differences and learn from them, and like she said, be enriched by them. I think that those two probably are good for me, and I'm going to allow the other members of the panel to speak, and I'm more than happy to discuss further in a few minutes.
Yeah, I'm Shapna Mukherjee. I'm a psychiatrist at the Counseling Center, and this is a very powerful and very complex skit covering many important areas. But the problems are not unique to only the Indian community. I see a lot of patients of European and American origin who have the same problems, especially one with the professor. I see some of the students coming from Russia, Europe, and they are going through the same issues, working 80 hours a week and not praised enough. And then the other issue about separation from husband that I also see in many American and European students, they say separated from the husband, and the same question from the colleagues, how can you tolerate it? I think I was really impressed by Mita being so conservative, because that's not very uncommon. That's a very important issue in not only in Indian culture but also in American culture. And I think the issue about Supriya's marriage and the traditional marriage, that only I can think about being very Indian, because the marriage is usually, the family choose the person they are going to get married. I think this brought to the issues of how we see ourselves. India has, I think, most Indians has a way of looking at problems in 3 different ways. We look through our own native culture, the way things are done. We also were under colonial power, and that is some way affect our views of ourselves. Due to globalization, we are also looking at things a little bit different nowadays. So the Indian psyche or Indian identity development is extremely complex, the way I see it. And I think in this skit, they brought it up to the surface. I also like to mention about myself. I got married in the final year of medical school. My husband stayed in US, I stayed in India. I finished, I came here. And my husband took care of our daughter when I did my residency for 4 years at Gainesville and in Tampa. So, it is a partnership. I didn't know my husband. It was chosen by my family. I met him only once before I got married. And this is a lovely partnership. I mean, to this day, I mean, it's such a wonderful, I think we grew up together hand in hand. That's the way I see it. So it's not all bad. If the parents choose, it's not really going down the tube. And I think that's all I have to say. Do you want to?
I'm Pratyusha Basu. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Geography at the University of South Florida. And I want to thank you all for an extremely thought-provoking and very confident presentation. I think it was put together really well. It brought up some issues that we discuss in our social contexts almost on an everyday basis. And I just want to say a few things about identity in general, because we sort of grapple with it on an everyday basis. It's what is the most intimate of our problems, our identity. And especially, I think, when it's complicated by gender and sexuality, it becomes even more a source of tension. Because I think what was shown very beautifully in this play is that identity is not just one thing. So it's made up of these intersecting strands. And it's this tension between the strands that creates the kinds of problems that we are seeing, because it's not just about being women. It's also about being students. And I think these two identities are seen sometimes as different. As was said in the skit, it's not as simple as family and education. And yet every day we are sort of forced to simplify it. We're forced to choose between family and education as if they were two separate things. And especially in the context of women, I think women's roles are understood as being either within the domestic context, and within the domestic context you can't bring up professional issues. You have to prioritize your domestic responsibilities. And then when you're a student, then you have to somehow get rid of domestic, social, familial connections completely. And that's the suspicion that attaches especially to female students, right? Are they going to be able to fulfill both domestic and professional responsibilities, or are they always going to choose domestic responsibilities over professional responsibilities? And I think it's also something that men are facing as they become involved in child rearing and in supporting their partners, that there's this constant pressure. I mean, I'm an advisor, so I advise students, and I have some of these fears too, right? There's this constant fear when someone says they're getting married or they've fallen in love. We always have this fear that, oh my God, is that going to interfere then with your thesis timeline or your dissertation timeline? And I think we have built our universities in such a way that these different identities are not accommodated as easily as they should be. And so that's one thing. The ways in which domestic and professional responsibilities clash with one another. But then it gets further complicated by immigration. Because now you come up with these problems with identity, and there's always the tendency for people to see that as a cultural problem. It's an exotic issue. It doesn't quite apply to the rest of the population here. And as Swapna pointed out very nicely, that's not true. These kinds of issues are sort of faced by all people. And so how do you take what seems like an exotic issue in terms of choosing your marriage partner or being in a long-distance marriage, and how do you understand that it's something that the wider society faces too? Because at some level, being an immigrant provides a certain kind of freedom. It provides a certain kind of separation from your own culture. And yet maybe that's not quite true. Maybe the separation, in fact, becomes a source of anxiety, and your cultural identity becomes that much more insistent. It draws you much more insistently. Because I have friends in India, right? And many of them are in long-distance marriages. And they are in India. Many of them are living separate from their husbands, privileging their career and their education. So maybe what we are thinking of as Indian culture in this context, in the context of the United States, is actually not even Indian culture in the context of India. Maybe India itself has changed, and so I guess we have to understand that culture also changes over time. And so what is the solution? I think the struggle is always put forward in terms of Western notions of individualism, to which supposedly immigrants are susceptible when they come to the United States. And then this supposed Asian emphasis on family values. And we are constantly sort of grappling between these two. But I would say this struggle between individualism and family values is actually a struggle over how many different kinds of identities we possess as human beings, right? that our creativity allows us to have many different kinds of identities, and yet the social sphere that we've created for ourselves insists on making those identities simple, easily understandable, so that you can fit into a category really easily. But I think what was really interesting about this skit and then the kind of discussion that we are having is that we have to move away from thinking of these problems as individual problems to looking at the ways in which they are constructed socially by other people. Because one of the constant refrains in this play, of course, was that it's other people that seem more worried about our identity issues than we ourselves might be. It's the rest of the world that has a problem, as one of the actors put it. I think what we have to understand is that there are many ways of being good and many ways of living a good life, right? And so our aim should be constantly to extend these notions of what a good life consists of, or of what being good means. And I think it's this kind of collective dialogue that will then expand our social possibilities and make it possible for us to deal with the tensions of our identity, not just in terms of something that's happening within us, but as something that needs to be changed in the context of the wider society. Thank you.
So any questions, anybody? You're free to ask questions of the panelists, of the actors. Yes?
Actually, I came here when I finished my high school and I did my college here. So being Indian, I felt like I was supported. If I was not Indian, I wouldn't be supported by my family. So I think being in my tradition, I feel more proud. And I have seen in Indian people that because all the kids are able to study this well, because they are supported by their family, by their parents. So I think I am proud. It's good to be more traditional. And we should be able to see that there are so much good side. We take it for granted that we don't realize how our culture is good for ourselves. But when we see other culture, how people are they are frustrated living alone, then we realize that, being Indian, we have so much good thing. And even in India, I agree that some people take it for granted, that they don't realize that this family system they have, or the good social life they have, that helps them so much and helps them not being, there are so many people otherwise they'll be more depressed. So I think being more tradition, I always felt, because I've been here for 10 years and I always felt, always my family was with me, and I always felt that being more tradition always helped me. So I don't know, I mean, so I think it's, from this place, my question was that, like, do you support me being more tradition, or, I was a little confused about the view, but I guess,
Do you want to ask the question of anybody in particular, or just all of the actors?
All of the actors, that,
Okay.
is it good to be more tradition? What's their view?
All right, thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm pretty sure that wasn't me. Thank you for asking that question to begin with. Can you hear me? I don't think there is a right answer to this question. I don't know if it's good to be more traditional or good to be unconventional. As an unconventional person, I also, like you, am very proud of my culture. I'm very proud of my traits. I'm card-carrying and proud of being an Indian, but at the same time, I cannot deny who I am, and I won't. Okay, so if you are the kind of person that embraces tradition, and if you are the kind of person that prefers to live in a conventional manner, that's your choice. You have every right to be that way. Similarly, if I am an unconventional person, and I do not choose to be traditional, if you can definitely define that word, then that's my choice, right? So I think each person is their own person. I don't think you can actually put a box around that. I don't think you can put a defined square footage or measurement around that. There are no parameters, because you're not going to find any of those. You're going to try and define it by your own standards. I'm going to try and define it by my own standards. Society is going to define it by their own standards. So whose standards are you going to follow? I think my answer to that question is basically each one to their own. If you look at my cast and the characters that we played, we were 5 very individual people. I'm sure we have a common platform on which we can meet, which is this conversational ground. We're all 5 very honest people also, and that enabled this dialogue. But we're also 5 extremely different people. And just as unique as people are to themselves, they are to their choices as well. That's the best way that I can answer your question. I hope I've succeeded in doing so.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
I have a quick question. Those are 2 of characters. I think one of them said she's going to talk to her parents, and the other one said that she's talking to the head of the department. Is there any reason why you left others open-ended? Because one of them, who was sitting here, she was just asking, she was posing questions about. Maybe I missed it. So is there a reason why you left a couple of them open-ended?
Not particularly. Yes, I understand your question as to it being open-ended. I think the part about her asking those questions is that when she came into the dialogue, she wasn't very willing to have a conversation. She was pretty confirmed about her thoughts. But then when she left the dialogue, in the final monologue that you saw, she was actually able to grapple with her thoughts. We were able to conflict what was already predetermined for her. So the closure part of that is that she's thinking about it, but no, she hasn't arrived at a decision.
Okay, so the other question is she new to the system?
She's new to the university, yes.
So, because I went through being a student here, so I've seen the transition. In my own life, I had the same issues that she had, but I didn't have as dramatic issues as she had. Like, frankly, I said nothing to do was such a shock to me coming from small town to talking to you.
Sorry.
So, yeah, I guess for a period of time, people get exposed to new ideas, new information. So I guess that's what we try to do with posing those questions and trying to grab those thoughts.
That is correct.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I just have a comment to make about Spartacus' character. You know, somebody said, you thanked your father.
I'm sorry, can you hear back there?
So you basically thank your father for giving you the courage to speak about your biceps, the chair. But what I just want to point out, in the context of this play, that actually you also need to acknowledge your group, your peers, because it was a conversation with them that started you along this train that in fact you can make a difference, you can make a change.
Actually, when we were first discussing the play, I kind of asked the same question to Sam, that my character doesn't hang. But if you had noticed that in the beginning, I do mention that after my conversation with all these girls is when I started thinking. And the thing is that although I am influenced by what they have said, I don't completely change my mind, because I say, thanks, but I really have to think about this. And this is what Sam explained to me, that you are not completely convinced. It's only after my father, whom I consider to be the most authoritative figure in my life, the most influential person, when he says that you should go and do this, that is when I decide that I have to do this. So, which is why in my mind, as a character, I am always thankful to what my dad has said. Because my dad would send me to the States to study and all that.
Yes, you're also seeking permission from
Seeking
authorities.
permission, yes.
I understand that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is pointing out sort of
Yes.
rhetorically is that the peers also form a community that are in fact sustaining. And what a play like this shows is that it's not always comfortable, but this is where growth happens. In a way, this is the kind of conversations you have in the dorms or in your apartments are kind of an extended classroom. where very intense work happens. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. And also, I think when I see the range of women characters here, I see that there are many ways of being women, there are many ways of being Indian, and that there are many communities, that we can be part of here. So, and I also wanted to commend Sam for for this play, and for what it seems to me, Sam, is a coming out story.
Yeah.
Yes, so it's a very courageous moment, and I don't know in the audience how that you realize what an important step this is. It's a kind of an honoring the audience here, all of us, with a very important dimension of one's life that has been kept secret or closeted. To bring it out is an act of faith and an act of participation in a community that I think is very touching. One question back there.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I have a question for one of the panelists, the professor. Why do you think the students who come from Asian region are not very friendly? Like as Swagata played the character, that she always has a mental block about not opening to the professor or feeling somehow like not very friendly with them. Why do you think that's more with Asian students? Is that the system that back in India, we always told that we always respect teachers, and we are kind of afraid of the teachers. We can't go against their wills, their whatever it is. So why do you think it's more common with Asian students? Is it more that the Asian professors don't open up with the students when they come in, or they don't make them more friendly? Because I've been in the same shoes as her when I did my master's at USF, and I had an Asian advisor, and I was the same. Like whatever I did, it was like thrown out of the window and was never praised. So after a while, you start losing interest in what you're doing, and then you try to find out ways to graduate and get rid of the advisor, basically. So that was it ends up into, which did end up in that in my case. But why is it that way?
Well, I think we have changed like that because I had the same kind of issues with my advisor too, of being respectful and listening to what they say and trying to accommodate it. So I think the ways in which we are trained in education in India, especially, I think it had partly to do with the size of the classes and the ways in which we were not given individual attention, right? And so we sort of accepted that these are the rules that you play by, and these are the rules that you have to succeed within. So it's also the power structure that we are used to. We are used to following rules. And so we quickly want to know what the rules are so that we can get it, we can excel at it, and we can come out of it properly. I think this was a really interesting case because the advisor is also Indian, right? And I think that there are certain issues associated with that too, because we're not actually bringing up, and I'm sorry to sort of insert this, but we're not bringing up the anxieties that attend on professors of Indian origin in the American Academy. And I think we have to also understand that they are also playing by certain rules, trying to succeed in a certain context. And the ways in which these relationships are set up and why certain students are sent to certain professors and certain other students are not. But I think it's not just in the context of Indian students, though it is more. I know that if I have a foreign student to advise, that student will be much more respectful and attentive, much more willing to listen to what I have to offer, rather than if I advise a student who is, from, I shouldn't think so. But I think what we have to sort of, and it's these kinds of discussions that are really important, we have to impress upon students that come in here that yes, you can speak out. You do not have to be in an uncomfortable relationship. You should definitely change your advisor for whatever reason. I mean, it has to be a relationship of trust. A relationship in which you can talk to one another. And so if you cannot talk to your advisor, if there's an element of fear in that relationship, then you're well within your rights to move. There are no costs associated with it, even though it might seem to you that there are costs. There are no costs associated with it. There are no professional costs associated with it. In fact, there might be professional costs associated with speaking with an advisor that doesn't quite work with you. I think it's also, we are trained to respect our elders, right? Like exactly what you said. We are trained to be respectful, so it's very difficult for us to think of the problem as lying in the elder. The problem has to be in the one who's younger, and that's the person that needs to change. So maybe we have to work against these kinds of ideas, and I think it's in these kinds of forums that we can actually discuss issues of this kind. Did you want to say something?
I'd like to say that this is not only unique with the Indians, because my husband is a professor of mathematics, and his Chinese, Korean, Vietnamese students are like that. Even his younger colleagues, who are very young, much younger than him, they will sometimes be just like that. So it is probably the Asian culture. So that's what I think.
Yeah, what I've seen is once you graduate, you become too friendly with your advisor. I don't know why, but it happens. It happened with me. So I can say, hey man, what you're doing, which I was, yes sir, just bowing my head, so kind of that. So that's what happens.
Thank you. I think we move on to the next question.
They're like that.
I'd like to move on to the next question, if we may. There was somebody way back there.
My question is actually related to the same thing you were just talking about. Like why we fear our professors the most, right? I guess we are missing on the second part, second aspect, because this is a two-pronged thing here. We come from India, where we respect and we think of our teachers as our gurus, like Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu. So that's one thing. We have to think of our teacher or the guru as a supreme being and submit ourselves to him to gain something. That is one thing. That is the basic premise. And that is the only thing which is different between Indian students or any other students. But now coming to the question. This is the only thing that is affecting our relation with our teacher. But then there are two things. One, why we are afraid of teachers, or why we submit to him or say like, okay, whatever you are saying is okay, or like Mr. said that before he graduated he was like yes sir, and after that he was like, hey, how are you doing? So the two things are, one is either the professor is not very confident about his mentoring and he wants to take that thing, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, as a weapon and use it against you. That is one thing. We have to admit to that. But we should be courageous enough to admit it could be us. We don't know our stuff. And we are somehow afraid to acknowledge that we don't know our stuff. We just say, okay, yes sir, I just need to graduate. That's all. So it's either one of them bullshitting. We have to acknowledge our part also. Like, we may be at fault. That's all I would like to say.
Being in that type of situation myself, I've been working with a professor for numerous years, and I have noticed that for me the hardest thing is to speak up and be assertive with my professors and say, hey, this is not working for me. And I mean, I still continue to struggle with it, and going back to what she said, we've always been trained to do that. We think of our professors as knowing what we need, and in her situation, she had said that, you know, he's like my father figure. You know, we consider them, we give them a lot of prestige, and if they say something, we really strongly consider, hey, maybe this person has a point, maybe I should be working 10 times harder than other people, or, you know, and it's, part of it is learning how to communicate and moving past some of those issues and saying, okay, these are my needs, this is what's normal, this is what's not normal. Like, if this professor is asking too much of you, being able to say, you know what, this is too much. And part of that is in these conversations with other people that would realize that what they're asking is too much. But your point is really great, because that's exactly what so many people are asked and trained to do.
Thank you. I've just been informed that we are running out of time. Is there anybody who has one quick comment and or question? I know one person has been raising a hand for a while now. I think I'll just... Sudeep, would you be able to give it to the young lady there?
I think it was a little unfair when you said you are unconventional and not traditional. It seemed as though you were blaming the Indian culture for that. It's just that the people are close-minded and not the culture. I mean, it's the same with most of the Asian countries and Middle East, I guess. So I think it is wrong to blame Indian culture or tradition for not accepting homosexuality or whatever.
Was this when I was answering the first question? I'm not blaming the Indian culture for anything. All I said was that I'm very proud to be a part of the Indian culture. I am an unconventional person. That's me, individual of my culture, individual of the geographical location that I come from. That's just who I am as a person. Let alone the culture, let alone where I'm from, let alone where I've studied, let alone who my parents are, let alone what my family background is. An unconventional person is just who I am. I've always been that way. I'm very proud of my culture. I don't remember what you're talking about when you said I blamed it because, and I apologize if I did, because I would like to make it very clear that me being unconventional has nothing to do with the Indian culture.
It wasn't you. The girl she said, I love my tradition and I love being traditional. Being traditional doesn't mean you want to be who you are.
Right.
Thank you.
I
Thank
fully
you.
agree with you.
Okay, one more. Last guess.
This one's directed to Samira. And first off, go girl. You rock.
Thank you.
What I wanted to say was that from what I've noticed and from what I know you, that you are to the T, this was pretty much who you are, even off stage. And so pretty much Dr. Grewal kind of mentioned what I was about to ask is, did you think of the repercussions that this would have on the people that don't know you very well and their perception of who Sam is, or did it not matter at all? And if it did, then I mean, what did you think of that you concluded to continue on with your whatever your current character was to play?
I thought of the repercussions, thought about it a lot. It was a difficult decision to make, but people are gonna think I'm weird, I'm strange, I'm bizarre, no matter what I do, no matter whether they see it, no matter whether I tell them openly, or no matter whether they judge for themselves. Again, it's about choice. If they decide that they still want to get to know me better, and if they want to be my friend, they're most welcome. But if they decide that they would rather stay away from this person, because like Swati said, it would influence their lives or would change their lives in some way, for them. It's their choice. They're entitled to make it. It's something that I think it's your birthright to be able to make a choice. I made a choice to tell. It's everybody else's choice to choose. That's as much as I can say about that.
Thank you. Thank you all. In conclusion, this was not lightly taken by Pehchan either. We went over all the stories and gave it a lot of consideration. As Samira, you're going to do the vote of thanks. On behalf of Pehchan, we would like to give our thanks to the panelists as well as each of the individual actors. And thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this point of time, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank all of the people who have been instrumental in making identity what it is to be different a reality. First and foremost, I would like to thank Pehchan for their support throughout the process. It's been about 3 months, and they've given me all of the moral support that I've needed. They've been extremely patient as we've struggled to overcome several hurdles, and I thank you very much for not losing your faith and for hanging around for this long. I would like to thank, secondly, the Center for India Studies. If it wasn't for Dr. Brewal and CIS, I would never have met Sushma from Pehchan. We would have never collaborated. I would never have come up with this idea, and April 4th at USF would never have happened like this. I would also like to thank the Students of India Association who helped us in securing the venue that I wanted. I was adamant about doing this play at the Oval Theatre, and here we are today. Thank you, Students of India Association. This would not have happened without you. Most importantly to me, I would like to thank my cast. The amount of commitment and dedication that these girls have put into a voluntary event is unprecedented in my life. We have practiced every day for at least 2 to 3 hours, removed time from our busy schedules to meet midday sometime, late at night sometimes, early morning to my disadvantage sometimes. But it has obviously turned out really, really well, and I thank them very much for having stuck by me through rain and sunshine, quite honestly. I would like to thank the USF community, overall, people that I've met, people that I haven't met, groups that I've met, listservs that I have never known existed, for having spread the word throughout the USF community that the play was happening. Thank you so much. And last but definitely not the least, I would like to thank the audience for being here, for supporting us, for all of your questions, and for initiating what was first and foremost the purpose of this play, dialogue. Thank you very much.